the second marriage, what happens when times become desperate? Because the glow, the fun, frankly, the sex, after a while, it's going to go the same direction. There's going to be desperation. You may go through seasons of loneliness. A man who did not view your marriage as inviolable, as sacred, he may well say the kids are the problem. We need to go on vacations on our own. These stinking kids are around too often. They're disrupting our flow. I would ask your sister to pray about that. Don't make the hurt extend to your kids. Keep the hurt between you and your husband and this man. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Because we believe, we speak. Because he first loved us, we speak his word. We walk in the path of Jesus Christ to make disciples of all nations. Until God gives us permission to speak again together, may his peace wash over you. On behalf of Randy and AFR, I'm Todd Herman. This has been A Disciple's View.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
90.5 KTXG, Greenville, Dallas. In the book of Exodus, the Creator God came to dwell with his people. You can't approach the holiness of God however you want. Jesus understood this when he says, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
Friends of Israel, bringing biblical truth about Israel and the Messiah. Saturdays, 2 p.m. Central on AFR. This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Key. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has named a replacement for Senator Marco Rubio, who is set to become President Trump's Secretary of State.
Talk is cheap. We need people that have demonstrated fidelity to these principles with their actions. So that is why today I'm proud to announce that I am selecting our Attorney General, Ashley Moody, to serve as our next U.S. Senator.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz says he's introducing legislation that would seek to undo an offshore drilling ban in U.S. coastal waters that was recently enacted by President Biden. The Republican senator saying he expects the House to bring it to the floor at some point, and says he believes President Biden is ignoring the will of American voters with this ban.
In November, the voters came and voted and gave a clear mandate to Donald Trump. And Joe Biden every day is putting policies in place that are essentially saying, screw you to the voters, are doing everything they can to make it harder for President Trump and the new administration.
The Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee holds a hearing to discuss the Remain in Mexico policy as President Trump returns to the White House. Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson says the policy obviously worked as he criticizes Joe Biden's handling of illegal immigration.
So when President Trump faced his immigration crisis, he did something about it. He used the existing law. And it was a lie over the last 4 years that President Biden didn't have the executive authority to secure the border. He had it.
As wildfires continue to tear through Los Angeles, the city faces criticism for recently cutting more than $17 million from the fire department's budget. William LaJeunesse has more.
When the Palisades fire broke out, every available firefighter showed up, yet many had no pumper truck, engine, or vehicle to use. Many are here, the maintenance yard, where up to 1 in 6 LA fire trucks are broken down, unavailable because the department has no money to fix them. Compared to other major cities, LAFD is grossly understaffed, far below recommended levels. A huge drain on fire resources, the homeless. Last year, LAFD responded to 14,000 fires and 52,000 medical calls. While next year's budget calls for more mechanics and replacement vehicles, the department wants another $5 million for EV charging stations and almost $2 million for a diversity and inclusion plan.
Northwestern University is set to offer a course on, quote, unsettling whiteness. To explain, here's Bronson Woodruff.
The Illinois institution's Department of Black Studies is offering this course per Northwestern's website. Stone Washington is a PhD candidate at George Washington University and a member of Project 21 Black Leadership Network. He said in an interview with AFN he was a little bit troubled, to say the least, when he saw this story.
Northwestern University, the private university, very elite and well-respected in the Chicago, Illinois area. But for them to just come up with a course that is just so myopic, narrow-minded, focus on just their view of what we call whiteness, the phrase that's kind of going around a lot.
The course's description reads, quote, making the historical, political, and cultural formation of whiteness in Western modernity visible and narratable for commentary and analysis, particular reference to contemporary culture.
They start off with a false premise that basically promoting that this white supremacy is systemic and it undermines institutional fairness and it's pervasive. It's across all of our academic institutions where they just assume that white people are in dominant positions and everybody else just doesn't have a chance to be equally successful. And I just think that it's really intellectually dishonest.
Washington said he actually hopes a lot of people do take the class. He wants them to look at it with a critical perspective in terms of thinking, why?
Why aren't other, minority viewpoints considered in this class? Why is this just like a demonization of white people and a misunderstanding of like white privilege and white supremacy?
I'm Bronson Woodruff.
U.S. stock indexes are drifting. The S&P 500 was up 0.1% today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped 43 points, and the Nasdaq Composite fell 0.1%. Stocks were holding steadier after shooting higher the day before, on hopes that an encouraging report on inflation may convince the Federal Reserve to deliver more cuts to interest rates. More news online at afn.net and the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
The presidential election in November was nothing short of historical. Americans went to the polls and let their voices be heard, overwhelmingly electing Donald Trump as our 47th president. You can hear his inauguration on AFR beginning at 11 a.m. Central, January 20th. So if you're not able to watch, you don't have to miss out. And make sure you tell your friends and family so they don't miss the live feed of Donald Trump's inauguration ceremony, January 20th, starting at 11 a.m. Central on AFR. Inform.
Religious freedom is about people of faith being able to live out their faith, live out their convictions, no matter where they are.
We equip.
Sacred honor is the courage to speak truth, to live out your free speech.
We also rejoice in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope.
This is At the Core on American Family Radio.
Welcome to At the Core with Walker Wobb and Rick Green. I'm Rick Green, America's Constitution Coach. Thanks for joining me on this Thursday afternoon. And yes, inauguration just a few days away. I know you're counting down the not the days, not the hours, not the seconds. I mean, it's so close, and there's so much relief in America. I mean, everybody's just like, oh, this is finally going to be. I mean, this guy Biden, I'm telling you, even on his way out the door, he just can't let go of that power. He should have exited stage left. I don't know, maybe like March of 2021. I mean, he was already mentally gone, but he just can't let go. Executive order after executive order, pardon after pardon. I mean, he is going to use every bit of it, and some of them are just over the top, of course. I think he's doing great damage, not just to the country, but to the Democrat brand. Not that you could hurt it anymore, but I think you can, and I think he continues to do so. So anyway, a few more days left of that, and then, of course, Monday, the inauguration. Now, listen, I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not going. I'm not going to go freeze my buns off again. I did it in 2000. I went to W's inauguration, but we're going to leave it to the young. So Walker is going to be out there, but I'm not. So I'll be with you from the studio. Walker will be with you from the inauguration, and it's a young man's war. Young men fight wars, old men pay for wars, right? So not that I'm paying for Walker to go, but anyway, I know what you're thinking. Rick, you're a summer soldier. You're a sunshine patriot. You're supposed to be a winter soldier. Sorry, I mean, I think of myself as a winter soldier when it comes to just staying in the fight and sacrificing, but not to be cold. Nope, not gonna do it. Just not when I don't have to. I mean, if the war was, I mean, if I was at Valley Forge with Washington, maybe, as long as the propane's working, and the heaters in the little cabins didn't they have those? No, they didn't have those. Okay, maybe I wouldn't have been that much good to George Washington, but maybe I would have been tougher back then. I don't know. My point is, I'm not going to be there, but I am going to be watching and just loving every minute of it. Yep, 80s rock song. I am going to be loving every minute of it. It's going to be
It's gonna feel like, guys, I mean, I'm telling you, it's gonna feel like the nation has been reborn. And it's not because of Donald Trump himself, it's because of the movement. It's because God has given us a reprieve, and he loves to confound our wisdom. I remember David Barton telling me this. When was it? Let's see, I guess in, well, it would have been about July of 2016. So if you remember in 2016, when Trump wins the primary, there were some of us that were not happy about that, including me. I mean, I was a Ted Cruz guy all the way, and Trump was obnoxious. He was dismissive. He was just a jerk to Ted Cruz and to his wife, and I had a hard time because that was my guy. It was my candidate and my friend, and Trump was treating him that way. And so, that was June, I guess, of 2016 in that election year, that it was finally all over, and we're moving into the convention, and Trump was saying nasty things about Cruz, and I couldn't get over it, and I was having a hard time, man. I mean, I was obviously not going to support Hillary Clinton. I was going to support Donald Trump and vote for Donald Trump, but I was having a hard time getting excited about Donald Trump, and even honestly deep down was thinking, this guy's so bad that Hillary's going to win. I mean, she's going to mop the floor with him. It's going to decimate Republicans all over the country. Boy, was I wrong. Somebody give me some crow to eat. But it was about July, I think, on Wall Builders Radio, and David Barton says, something to the effect of, Rick, God loves to just confound our wisdom and just almost mock us and just laugh at what we think is wise. And he was talking about my political, I thought, astuteness and my analysis of what would work and what wouldn't work and who would win and who wouldn't win and all of those things. He's like, Rick, God knows best. And for whatever reason, he said, for whatever reason, we had what we view as godly candidates in the primary. People like, Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and these other guys that were definitely carrying a much more faith-based agenda and background and all of those things. And fair race. I mean, there was no stealing of the primary. For whatever reason, Donald Trump walked away with it in the primary. And I just remember him saying, God doesn't need our approval for who he's going to use to help us. And man, here we are. And frankly, Trump won me over by the time November rolled around in 2016. One of the ways that he won me over was in his answer to a question at a chaplain's gathering where my friend Chad Robichaud asked him about chaplains in the military being able to pray in Jesus' name, and I don't know if you remember what was going on in the Obama military, but they were basically making it very difficult for people of faith. And Trump at that time just goes off on the Johnson Amendment, which was not the question, right? The question was about, can chaplains pray in Jesus' name? But Trump understood what we're really talking about, and what Chad was really asking about is religious liberty. Can people exercise their faith in whatever arena they're in? And so he did answer the question on the chaplain thing, but then he went off on the Johnson Amendment and talked about how it was so bad and we needed to get rid of it. And I remember thinking, I was sitting in some hotel lobby somewhere in the country, traveling, speaking, and I don't even remember where I was, but I'm sitting in the lobby eating my breakfast, watching this exchange between Chad and President Trump at this chaplain's gathering, and I didn't even, I recognized Chad's voice, but I wasn't absolutely sure it was him because the camera wasn't on him. And then we got him on Wall Builders a couple days later to talk about his instigating that question. Anyway, it won me over to Trump. That was the beginning of Trump, me being convinced that he really was an instrument that God was using, and that his wisdom was beyond what I had seen. And then in the third, it was either the second or third debate with Hillary, when partial birth abortion came up, and Trump's visceral reaction to that, and just his knee-jerk, not well articulated, not well informed, frankly, with regard to all the nuances of the abortion debate that we pro-lifers could probably articulate way better. Didn't matter. He just had this just visceral reaction to how evil partial birth abortion is, how wrong it is, how it should never happen in America. And he just, I think, won that moment against Hillary, and frankly at that point won my heart and my support in a passionate way, rather than just being drugged to the polls to vote for him and hold my nose. It was like, wow, wait a minute, this guy really has something different. And then he did it in office. When he got in office, he immediately defunded all this crazy millions of dollars to the Palestinian Authority. He said, why are we giving money to this, corrupt government to go murder Jews? I mean, that's stupid. They're using our money to do that. We shouldn't give them a penny. And so anyway, I think that is my point was God uses people that we don't typically pick. And if think about David and King David, a murderer and an adulterer. Think about Moses, a murderer. Trump hasn't done that. And so I think Monday, when he raises his hand and we see this transition of power from these corrupt, Marxist, free market hating, Bible hating, God hating, Constitution hating, left-wing radicals who have controlled our government for the last 4 years. When we see the transfer of power to a team that loves America, that loves the Constitution, that loves the founding principles of this country, that love the religious foundations of this country. I mean, it's so important how often Trump has talked about that, and the symbolic nature of his nod to the God consciousness and the biblical foundations. You cannot overemphasize those things. I don't care what you think he actually believes. In his position of authority, in his position of leadership, to basically give the endorsement of the importance of those religious foundations is huge. So Monday is going to be a phenomenal day. And from the warmth of my studio, I will be with you here on At the Core as Walker Wildman freezes all of his fingers and toes and everything else. And we will have fun watching him do that. So but make sure you tune in next Monday. And normally, of course, Walker with you Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'm with you Tuesdays, Thursdays. And then sometimes we're with you together. We'll be doing that Monday from separate studios, but or from separate parts of the country. But it's going to be fun. I think you're going to enjoy it. So look forward to that. I do encourage you this weekend to be praying for the president, praying for his safety, praying for no chaos, that all of the plans of the enemy will be thwarted. There's tons of plans and terrorist cells and crazy people, and all of that stuff happens. We're in a country of 350 million people. You're going to have your crazies. You're going to have people that Trump's probably perhaps the most loved politician of our lifetime, the most hated man of our lifetime as well. And so there's no doubt that those kinds of things are being that there are attempts towards those kind of things, and God has confounded that, and he has dismantled their plans, and he has given us a reprieve. And so pray for more and more and more of that, and then on Monday especially that there'll be no disruptions, and that it'll be a wonderful day and a wonderful celebration for our country, and certainly for patriots and those who love the country. Just an absolute, it's going to be emotional. Honestly, it's going to be emotional. I mean, we've put a lot of our heart, minds, and souls into this. We've frankly known that we were very close to losing the country. If you didn't realize that, you should have. And as we celebrate on Monday, you should certainly be grateful to God, because we came that close. And if you're not watching online, just think Maxwell Smart, and that's what I'm giving you right now. That close, missed it by that much. In this case, a good miss. We missed by that much, losing the country. Perhaps for Ronald Reagan used to say 1,000 years of darkness. I think it would have been more like 2 or 3 generations of darkness, sort of like the children of Israel, 70 years of captivity. And for whatever reason, God has given us the reprieve. Now, this does not mean that our work is done. It does not mean we've saved the nation. It means starting on Monday, there will be a turning point and an opportunity to march towards saving the nation. It's very much that, I've said this, but let me say it again. It's very much that point in Nehemiah where the king has given permission to go rebuild, but we haven't rebuilt anything. The culture is still rotting, folks. I mean, there's still so much poison in the institutions of our nation, from entertainment to politics to business to all of it. There's a poison of cultural Marxism in every one of those institutions, and the rot is real. You have a ton of our citizens that believe in the evil, not in the good. And so that's where the work begins. We have permission to go rebuild the walls. The king, we the people in this country, are the king, and we the people have now given permission for us to go rebuild the walls just like Nehemiah did. And my challenge to you, day in and day out, is going to be to know what the bricks are that need to be used to rebuild in strength. If you want to rebuild liberty, what are the ingredients? What are the right bricks to lay, the right bricks to build with? And then how do you properly lay those bricks so that there's an effective foundation, a strong foundation to stand on? And where do you get the resources to do that? Because that's another thing. The king has given permission. If you remember in the book of Nehemiah, the king not only gave permission to go rebuild, he gave the money to go rebuild. He sent the letters to and all of those things. Well, we the people have given permission to rebuild. I'm not so sure that the money has been appropriated, but needs to be. And so now it's time to go rebuild. So Monday is the starting gate, man. The gun's going to be fired, and we're going to take off running, and we're going to start rebuilding as fast as we can. And I'm going to be challenging you to do that at the local level, not just the federal level. This isn't just about Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy dismantling the deep state and hopefully not just slashing budgets, slashing whole agencies, whole departments need to be absolutely gone. And it's not just at the federal level, it's the local level. So we're going to be living out that line in the Declaration that comes right after consent of the governed. It says that when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. We're going to be living that out. We're going to be altering and abolishing. We're going to be abolishing departments, abolishing certain policies, and we're going to be altering our government back to a constitutional republic where the answer to the question, who decides, is most often you, the citizen, the individual, the parents, the family. That's where most of the power should lie. And yes, sometimes the answer to that question, who decides, should be local government or state government or federal government, but very limited. And we're going to redefine those jurisdictions and get back to a constitutional republic. What a wonderful time to be alive. What an exciting time to be on the front lines. What an amazing time to be a free citizen and have a voice. We'd love to hear your voice today. The phone number is 888-589-8840. That's 888-589-8840. I'm Rick Green, America's Constitution Coach. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on At the Core.